Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video we're going to be going over a 2022 Mercedes EQS 450. First and foremost though, a huge shout out and thank you to Kunani for getting me the footage on this car. Check out her Instagram in the description down below. Let's get right into the video. So let's go over the all-new 2022 Mercedes Benz EQS. Pretty crazy thing. I'm super glad that I was able to get footage on this car because this is a car that I probably won't have a chance to actually review myself in person for quite some time. But first off, you guys can see here at the wheels, they look pretty crazy with the blue accent and everything and how closed off they are. If you guys are wondering, with EV cars, they try to close the wheels off as much as they possibly can while still making them look good from a design standpoint, just to help out with aerodynamic efficiency. You guys will see a lot of normal Mercedes-Benz stuff on this car as well, and that's one of the benefits of buying a fully electric car from a more mainstream manufacturer. You get something that's familiar, right, with a car that might not be so familiar to you because, again, it's fully electric versus something that obviously has a combustion engine. But notice here with the front end on the accent pieces right here, you do have the parking sensors that are integrated into the front. Pretty standard stuff for most cars nowadays, but you guys will also notice that there is some stuff that's opened up, but a large portion of everything on the front end is closed off again for aerodynamic efficiency. And you can see underneath the car here as well how smooth it is, again, to help out with aerodynamic efficiency as well. And kind of while we're going over here with the front end of the car, I do want to go over the power figures here with the EQS. This one's a 450, and with the 450, it's a single motor to the rear, and it puts out 329 horsepower and then 419 pound-feet of torque. Quick break, you guys can see how the little Mercedes-Benz logos into the front here. I think that's a pretty cool design touch. But you can also get an EQS 580. Now that adds another motor to the front, and that puts the total power output to 560 horsepower and 631 pound-feet of torque. And so you guys can imagine there's a pretty big acceleration difference between the 450 and the 580, just from the power perspective, but then also the fact that you have all-wheel drive with the 580. So yeah, pretty crazy stuff. And the 580 is called a 4MATIC, kind of, you know, in Mercedes-Benz normal fashion. Notice the EQS badge right there. And then also the door handles are flush with the car. And you guys can see the window sticker here and aftermarket adjustment and all that stuff. But yeah, well over 6 figures for this new EQS 450. If you guys are wanting starting price, just over $100,000. Then once you add options and everything, it's pretty expensive. So this is basically, you know, S-class pricing from a pricing perspective. So just kind of understand that getting into it. And you guys can see, you know, from an exterior perspective, I mean, it's a very unique looking car. I wouldn't necessarily call this beautiful by any means. And if you guys are wanting with the Mercedes-Benz logo, it actually tilts up to reveal the backup camera so that that doesn't break up any of the design in the rear. But also, you got the 450 plus badge right there. But as I was saying, this car isn't necessarily beautiful on the outside, right? They've got that cool futuristic look with it, and that's kind of what they've gone for. But they've kind of kept the beauty to the interior of the car. I will say that. Like, I think that the combustion models still definitely look better. But here's another video here of the wheel itself that I threw in, just so you guys can see the details on that. Again, I think it's really cool design and obviously engineering to make it so that the car, you know, has less wind resistance. And then here's a couple pictures of the outside of the car, so you guys can kind of see the full car itself. And like I said, it's not it looks like a Mercedes, but it's not necessarily like the best looking. You guys can see the S-Class next to it. Like the S-Class just looks a lot prettier than this EQS 450. So yeah, it's kind of a tough sell for me personally from an exterior aesthetics perspective. Like spending over $100,000, I want the car to look beautiful, right? And then something I really like here in the rear is notice the carpeting everywhere looks really nice, really high quality stuff. So I think Mercedes did a really good job with this rear hatch area in terms of making it just look really nice aesthetically. And storage space is actually really good as well. You guys can see it goes in pretty deep. There's a cargo cover that's been built into it. All the floor mats are thrown back there. That's kind of what car dealerships typically do. But yeah, it's pretty large, and it's got a hatch opening instead of a regular trunk, so you can fit larger items in there a lot easier, and you guys can see that hatch opening right there. Now, continuing along here to the interior. This is the rear. Notice the Mercedes Benz logo right there. And then you can see the seats here are just, you know, your regular Mercedes Benz seats. They look really nice. They've got a really cool stitching design. And you can also see the ambient lighting there on the bottom. And then popping over here to the door panel, look at the speaker there for the sound system. Really high quality stuff. I really like the design here with the interior. The ambient lighting definitely accents things very nicely, but you can see all the trim with the leather and the touches and everything are great. And then also notice there on the seat, or sorry, on the side of the door, you have the seat adjustments, which I think is pretty cool. And the ambient lighting is inside the seats. I think that is another cool touch right there. You can kind of see it. So then again, you can imagine, especially at night, just how much that's going to pop for all of the passengers in the car. So it's not just the front passengers that get that experience. And it's something that seems silly, but it really does kind of set the mood for a car when you have really nice ambient lighting, what this has. And you can also see the color difference, right? They have the cream color there for the seats, and they've got some gray around to kind of break things up. The darker color definitely makes kind of pops out more against the rest of this interior and makes it so it's not so bland, right, from an interior perspective. And again, you can see the attention to detail here with the stitching on the seats as well. I think that looks great. I like how they've gone for just like the straight lines. It kind of just looks like it's flowing like water, basically. So I think that that's cool touches done. And then notice how I have the armrest here. You can press that little tab right there to have the little cup holder pop out from it. But notice pretty much everything's covered in leather. Just really nice use of materials. The stitching looks nice. Everything just looks really high quality. And that's something that you have come to expect from Mercedes, or I guess we have come to expect from Mercedes. Notice we have the normal seat adjustments, which like looks like the seat for the adjustments. I've always liked that about Mercedes, how they have that for the seats. And then you can see the wood trim down here below, or at least looks like wood trim. Sorry if I'm wrong on that. Look, really does look like it with the graining. I think that looks nice. I like the coloration on it. Something that I hate with what manufacturers will do with wood trim is they won't make it match the interior of the car. Like they'll just always throw a brown wood trim in like every single vehicle, and it's like, no, you got to do different colors sometimes. Like this, you notice how it's gray, so it matches the rest of the theme of the interior. So I think that Mercedes has done a really good job with that. And then you guys can see here on the dash as well. Again, just look at all the stitching and everything. And the gray will contrast, you guys can see nicely, to the rest of the elements in the car. Notice the vent also has the ambient lighting around it, and then just down below it. So you've just got lots of lighting everywhere. Crazy. And then notice right here, we've got like our regular light controls. So, you know, you got to have your practical car stuff with the parking brake right there. It's just an electronic brake. And then the footwell lighting down below. Now this is a missed opportunity, right? We've got these pedals down here that, you know, they don't look horrible, but, you know, they could have, especially given the price point, they could have done a little bit more with the pedals, made them a little bit nicer material-wise. I understand practical to do those in plastic, but again, if I'm going to spend over $100,000 on a car, I'm going to want everything that I touch and look at to be really nice and high quality. So yeah. Just my opinion there. Got the Mercedes Benz plaque right there. And then notice the turn signal stock is actually really nice with the metallic trim. And then you guys will see that there's like these little paddle shifters. Obviously, it's a fully electric car. So with most fully electric cars, they'll actually still integrate paddle shifters with the car. That'll actually be part of the regenerative braking system. I think that's a cool thing that they've been doing with EV cars. So like if you want more or less regenerative braking and you want it on the fly, it's kind of a cool thing that manufacturers have been doing. And then you can see here at the steering wheel, the stitching all matches. So it's basically just you know, that cream color just all over, which again I think looks really good, and it kind of just brightens up the interior. And I think the steering wheel design overall I think it's great. I think it's a good looking steering wheel. And then coming back here to the dash, you can see another speaker there for the sound system. And I also like the different textures they have with the materials. Just how you're going to have all the different textures throughout the interior. It's nice to look at, but then also when you touch things, right, you can have all those different textures to kind of play with, which look great. Notice the infotainment system right there. Giant touchscreen. I like how it's integrated there into the dash as well. They did a really good job with the integration. So it doesn't look like it just plopped on, right? It actually looks like it's a part of the car itself. You can see response time with it's really good. So Mercedes did a really good job with that. So I think that's a huge plus. And overall, I think it's great. And also notice the little navigation screen right there, so you can see where the car is. And then coming down below, you can see all the blacked out trim, kind of how that's all integrated. Notice how it's illuminated down here with the cup holders, then the phone charger. So that's pretty nice, right? So you can actually see your phone, but then it has a nice little cubby, so it'll actually hold it in place. That's the gripe that I have with some manufacturers where they won't do that. And then notice here at the dash, again, really nice with the trim. Just everything looks very aesthetically pleasing. So I guess it's a good thing the interior of this car looks as good as it does, because the exterior, on the other hand, right, isn't quite there. And then also the fact that driver, passenger door panels, the rear door panels, all of that is all really nice, really high quality. They've kind of like kept the theme all throughout the car instead of just making just one area nice. And then also notice that the lines all connect throughout the interior. I think that is really cool how they've done that. Then you guys can see the perforations here in the leather. Really nice stuff. Obviously, you got to have that for the ventilated function. Every car manufacturer that has ventilated seats, you're going to have perforations. But the perforations look really nice. You know, they kind of add to the design and to the visual texture that you have with this particular car. So I think that Mercedes did a really good job with the seats. Can't tell you if they're comfortable or not. They look comfortable though. I can say that. So I guess we got that going for it, right? And again, just look at all the textures here on the seat. It's just, it's kind of just a nice thing to look at. And then popping here up to the top, you guys can see that we've got the sunroof here. And again, all the colors match, which is nice. You've got more of that blue lighting there at the top. So even at the top, there's nice ambient lighting. So it kind of all ties together. But everything just, again, at the top looks high quality. So interior, I'm all about it. You guys can see, I just love the interior. It's just make one more comment, exterior. But yeah, that's the EQS.